minus 159 equals 21. I think, yes.
My man is cracking geometry.
Nate, tell us, do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
Yeah, very good. I like how you went through and you showed that these two angles were vertical angles, therefore they're both going to be 120. And how you showed them every step you took. Perfect. What questions do you have for us on the bell ringer? All right, you can go ahead and put your bell ringers away. I need you to get out any work that you have that needs to be turned in for AMI work.
My Wi-Fi is not connected to my Chromebook at home, and it's making me mad. So I don't know what to do. I'm gonna wait my download.
Do what?
I'll wait to download it.
You can like download.
I want to do my boom card stuff, you know? And I spent 2 minutes trying to get my Wi-Fi to connect. And like,
I would say advisory, use advisory, or if you have like can stay a little bit after school or come in a little bit before school.
I can do before.
All right, any work that you have that needs to be turned in, pass it to the front row, pass it to the right, and then you need to get out your notes from yesterday so that way we can finish our notes.
Everything?
You sure the young one there? You sure it's on the, you know that sitting her weeds?
Alright, if I can have your attention, please. Yesterday we talked about congruent polygons and what it means for polygons to be congruent. And what it means for two polygons to be congruent is that every single angle and every single side has a corresponding angle and side that it's congruent to. Anybody have any work to put in? Okay, so we made it through writing down, talking about corresponding parts, writing all the different corresponding parts. We talked about third angle theorem. And then we even discussed how to show that polygons are congruent. To show that two polygons are congruent, you have to show that every single angle is congruent in every single side. When it talks about angles, you're either going to use vertical angles, alternate interior angles, or third angle theorem. And for sides, usually the only thing you're really going to use on sides is reflexive property, and that's whenever it's the same side, saying something's congruent to itself. So for instance here, you would say that DB is congruent to DB because of reflexive property, because it's congruent to itself. This pin is congruent to itself, because if this pin is 3 centimeters, then this pin is 3 centimeters. Or if that trash can is 2 feet tall, the trash can is also going to be 2 feet tall. Okay, it's congruent to itself. It's the same height as itself. If I'm 5'5", I'm also 5'5". I'm congruent to myself. That's reflexive property.
Yes.
And then we even went as far as to find the measure of angle P. We actually finished this problem. So what we noticed on this problem is I noticed that this was a 90-degree angle right here. And this is 90 degrees. And then this angle A is 52 degrees. And angles A and R are marked congruent. So if A is 52, then R is 52. And then we used our math, knowing that all three of these add up to 180. So 90 plus 52 is 142. And 180 minus 142 is 38. So therefore, angle P is 38 degrees. Okay. Now, what if they were to ask us about angle B? Would I need to go through and do all the math again?
No.
Why not?
Because they're congruent.
Yeah, B and P are congruent by third angle theorem because these two are congruent to these two. So by third angle theorem, B would be congruent to P. So if P is 38, B would also be 38. All right, let's try an example together. I need you to write down that missing angle that you have, 45 degrees. I whited that out. So first thing you need to do is put that back in there. Now, first thing you need to do is look at some things that they give you. For instance, look at some measures that they give you. Anything that's marked congruent, I would label it with the measure that it's going to be. All right, Daniel, tell me something that you noticed about it.
Angle B is congruent to angle A.
All right, so if angle A is 45, what's angle B going to be?
45 degrees.
Kaylee, what's something that you noticed?
Triangle C and D will, is not possibly still both close to the same, so the other one's going.
Also, this one right here is also going to be 30. Perfect. Okay. Anybody notice anything else about those? About the triangles?
I notice that it skips half the alphabet and goes straight to N.
Yeah, A, B, C, D, and then goes to N instead of E. Okay, now, there's a couple different ways you can go about figuring out the measure of angle. I think it's DCN that they want. So the next thing I would do is figure out which angle is angle DCN. Oh, I'm sorry. Which angle is BDC? What angle are they asking for? BDC. Which angle is that?
Two triangles.
Got it.
What did you say?
Two triangles.
The two triangles, or you mean like these two?
And there's two triangles. And
Oh, you're saying you see two different triangles in here? What two different triangles?
you got BDN and NBC.
Okay, so we have this triangle here, and then this triangle here.
There's also another one.
That
There's a
third
bigger
one.
one.
Anybody see another triangle besides those three?
A and B.
Kind of look like Patrick if he was buried
You can draw
upside
line
down.
from A to B and make a fourth one.
Yeah, that would make it.
Wow.
So they're asking for the measure of angle BDC. BDC. So that's this whole entire angle right here. If it's hard for you to see which angle they're talking about, I suggest tracing it, going from B to D to C, and then you can see that they're talking about this big angle. So somehow we need to figure out the measure of this entire angle. So we need to figure out this missing part. So here's my next question. We're given those two angles and these two angles. Is there another angle I can find to try to help me? What would be your process, Kaylee?
Finding the angle of C and D.
This angle here?
Yep.
Okay, what's the measure of that angle? How could I find it? Noah?
Add 30 to another 30 and minus 180.
Okay, so do 30 plus 30, 60, and what's 180 minus 60? 120. So this angle here is 120 degrees.
Wait, whoa, wait, okay. BDC, that whole triangle is 180, so you could just add 45 and 30 and get that third angle for D, right? And then you just have to subtract the 30.
Okay, are you saying
That big old,
this big triangle here?
yeah.
Wrong.
Okay, what if I did this? What if I did this right here?
Whoa.
Stop.
Don't do that.
That's a big triangle.
This angle's marked 45. This angle's marked 30.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And you're saying this big angle here is this big angle. So you just gotta do 45 plus 30 and subtract it from 180? That's how I would do it. But that's not the only way, but good job on seeing that.
It's missing the rest of the angle of D though, the triangle.
Yeah.
That's how you
Now this right here represents all the way from here to here. Okay. Alright, Logan.
When you do like 180 minus 120, and find out that angle.
That gives you
Seven.
this one, which is gonna be what? 60. Okay, now what?
You do 60 plus 45, and then over that, which I'm assuming is 105.
Okay,
Then you get 75.
and that's, this angle here, this partial angle,
Or, yeah.
and then how would I figure out the entire angle? 75 plus 30, and what do you get?
6.
105.
Okay,
13.
now, figure out the measure of this angle.
12.
105.
And then, but,
Either way will work.
Wow!
So,
That's neato.
you can either go through and do all this process, figuring it out, or if you're more of a visual person and you saw I know Javier saw that this was two big triangles, like overlapping, then you can like pick it apart. Okay? So very good. Either way works. You get the same answer both ways. Okay. Alright, here's the next one. The next one you're going to try with your partner, but before you do, you've got to write the missing number down, and you need to, you'll need to figure out which angle they're talking about to find. Like I said, you'll work this one out with your partner. Alright, so I think it's the 68 degrees that has been whited out, so you need to write down the 68 degrees. Once you do that, go ahead, and it says find the measure of angle DCN. Alright, so go ahead, turn your desk to face your partner, and work it out together. Yeah, find the measure of angle DCN.
12.
Alright, go ahead, turn your desk to face each other. You're gonna have to do more than just this one problem, so go ahead and turn your desk to face each other.
I can't see.
Hey bro, if you use tap, you get that discussion, or you could just. No, I'm not in, but these are. D is 68. 180.
I don't either. I thought about drawing chemistry, and I was like, no, my GPA wasn't like that.
I don't want to be. My GPA would love that. Yeah, I bet I would cross. I do not want to be right now.
Honestly, if I failed this, I still have another year left, so I can just take environmental next year. What if I fail environmental?
Well, not if you're trying to get full time. You won't fail environmental. I think I want to try to.
Oh, yeah,
So, I don't know, looks pretty good.
that's 75.
I like chemistry, I just don't like the way Mr. Myers teaches.
Yeah, I know, I can't. No,
He would be better as like a college professor.
No, he wouldn't be there.
Teachers from the textbook. He's basically the textbook. Somehow.
Oh, you're real,
Mr. Myers is.
he said he's preparing us for college, but I thought the college.
That's what every teacher says.
I forgot, and that's not how college.
That's not how college works.
NASA.
I was in college, and my cousin said in college, they give you like what the whole assignment is for like the months now, and what to do, like as powders and stuff.
I used to take college courses in the summer for like music and stuff, and like
I'm doing biology this summer.
Alright, if I can have your attention, please. My first question for you is, which angle, they want you to find the measure of angle DCN. So first you gotta figure out which exact angle is angle DCN. Alright, Harrison, which angle is angle DCN?
Which angle is DCN?
Yes.
The triangle on the top? Oh, I thought you were.
But what angle is it? It's in the triangle at the top, but which angle is it? There's three
Measure the
angles.
angle?
Now what, not, which angle is it?
I'm confused.
Okay, so you got angle D, you got angle C, and then you got angle N. Is it D, C, or N?
Oh, see,
How do you know?
because that's the middle angle.
Yeah, because the middle letter is C. So we're looking for this angle right here. Alright, Nate, explain to me yours and your partner's process on how to find the measure of angle C.
We saw that X and D were congruent, so we put 68 on D. And then R and C are congruent, so 275.
How do you know that R and C are congruent?
The lines on that line.
But that means the lines are congruent. That doesn't necessarily mean that these angles are congruent.
It's so quick.
The vertical angle is vertical angle.
Okay, where's my vertical angles at?
And it's 37.
And-
So that means all our
And the height.
Yeah. So these two angles here at N are vertical angles, therefore they're congruent. Now, have your attention please. Now, since you have these two angles marked congruent to these two angles, now can I say that C and R are congruent?
Yes.
By what theorem?
Horizontal.
Third angle theorem. Now by the third angle theorem, R is congruent to C. But you had to prove that these two were congruent first, so you could use third angle theorem, so this would be 75. Or you could have just said 75 and 68, therefore this angle here is how much, 37?
Yeah.
And then by vertical angles, this one's 37, and then you could have done 68 plus 37, which is 105?
Yep.
Minus, and then 180 minus 105 is 75. So that angle there is 75 degrees. Okay. Awesome. What questions do you have for me?
I sure we already learned this stuff. Couldn't we just look at it like they're reflected?
Yes, but you had to show, before you could say that these two are congruent, because if you look at this one, oops. It's not going to work. Let me do it by hand, which I'm going to have to show you the next one by hand anyway. Let's say the picture looked like this. And I mark these congruent. If these two sides are congruent, does that automatically mean that this angle and this angle are congruent?
Yes.
No.
No, you can even look at this. This angle is bigger than 90. This angle is less than 90. So just because the two sides are congruent doesn't necessarily mean the two angles are congruent. Okay. All right, so here's the next thing I want you to do. That was the last problem that was actually on there, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to do this next one with your partner, and you're going to draw this picture on your paper. And you and your partner are going to try to figure out the measure of the missing angle. And it's kind of difficult. Alright, now we're going to do two, so don't draw too big because you're going to have two problems to add to your notes. Alright, find the measure of angle 1. Draw that picture and then find the measure of angle 1. Work it out with your partner. Draw this picture and then find the measure of angle 1.
Oh, that's
Alright, one.
Is that a 54? It's like right here.
Yes, 54 degrees is right there in the middle.
Hold hourglass. You know, 54.
Well,
I'm not an artist.
No, you were.
It's like carbon.
It's like the episode of SpongeBob where it's like chiseling something in front of someone.
Okay, so
So, is that a 146?
Yes.
How's that? Angle measure angle 146.
They're my license.
That's the one we're trying to find.
What is that little dot?
We're trying to find a
Was that necessary?
Oh.
I can't see it. Okay, so
Is that one? Is that what that says? That's it.
Yeah, find the measure of angle 1, which is X.
I can do that.
We just.
I raced a little bit.
Okay.
What?
No, I'll start the.
That's all that shit. They have this, they're not honest, you know, but they're
Alright, if I can have your attention, please. Harrison, explain me yours and your partner's thought process on solving for the measure of angle 1.
So we did first, we did 80 plus 54, and out of that, and got, 134. And then we took 180 minus 134, and we got 46, and we made those angles of the,
This one up here.
and we knew that it was, congruent to angle 1,
How did you know it was congruent?
the 3,
These?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm a man child.
The arcs.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what does that mean since they're congruent?
Reload my
Yeah,
weapon.
angle 1,
Wait.
Nate, you agree with that? You and your partners agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's try this one. Good job. This one's a little bit more difficult.
Ooh,
Let's see your thought process on this one.
I like those.
It's 4.
Swear.
Not too hard though.
You gotta be a little soft.
Square.
Oh.
Like your microwave burrito gotta be a little cold.
Get a medium rare.
Did you say BLM? Did you say that doesn't exist?
What?
Find the
Oh
measure.
my god.
BLM is not
Never mind.
a ultimate is become a cult and
Find the measure of this angle right here, just this part. I'm not marking this to say that it's congruent. I want the measure of this angle right here.
Oh, which one?
This one that's marked with the brown arc. Now, this is not showing it's congruent. I'm just marking what piece of the angle I want. There you go. Try that one.
I gotta figure out as well. After 92. BLM is 233 plus 45.
Yes, sir.
I think one actually bisect.
Pornhub kids.
Those lines do not bisect. They could, but we don't know that.
Yeah, probably.
No, don't know that.
What?
D. Oh, yeah, D.
What?
Because it was showing you on underage.
Joe Biden side.
Joe Biden is a Democrat.
Really? Never would have guessed.
Wacky fact of the day, y'all. Joe Biden's a Democrat.
Crickets. The silence.
That was so funny.
Awkward.
You guys can get one at a time, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Get to it.
That could have been more unbearable than what it was the first time you said it.
Nobody really likes any kid.
Maybe that's why I was silent.
Do I?
I've never heard of that before.
I don't even got it.
These friends are still a hacker.
I've never heard of Martin Democrat.
Imagine being
How do you
Imagine
figure
being
that out? What is it?
Imagine being able
That's
to.
57.
I saw this is like one.
It looked like 3, sorry.
Yeah.
Because like 57 is such a
Oh, cause that whole thing's on that whole.
Did I give you that angle?
I did a big triangle, I don't even know what it goes to.
Imagine you got 57 right here. Big triangle.
Dude, this is
And then what do you know about those things that they have to do?
90 mine.
This is 57.
Why?
I think she set it up last year.
You're still your president.
No.
Alright, if I can have your attention, please.
Oh,
This whole thing's 92. We're gonna have some bin Laden.
Logan, will you please explain to me
Oh, wait, he's dead,
yours
isn't he?
yours and your partner's thought process on how you figured out the angle of angle DCA? What did you do?
I did what Javier did. I saw that big triangle.
What big triangle?
DCB.
DCB, so this big triangle here, it's a right triangle.
Yeah.
Here's D, C, B, and C is a right angle, and this angle up here is 33 degrees, okay?
And then I did 90, 33. And I got, what I got.
127.
And then I got 57. Like the bottom part of D.
Okay, so he's saying this angle here is 57 degrees. That's this angle here is 57, okay?
And then, well, the other one's also a big triangle, so I did the same thing. So it won't be 57.
Yeah, because they already have two angles that are congruent, so if two angles are congruent, then that automatically means that this angle is, so it would also be 57, okay?
And I added both the 57s, I got 66.
For this angle up here,
Wait, yeah, I added both, and then I subtracted it from 180, I got 66. I added both.
57 plus 57 would be what, 114?
Yeah. And then I got 66.
And so this is 114,
Yeah,
and then so what's this one right here gonna be?
33.
Okay, so that's one method, because all three of these have to add up to 180. Or, after you found this one to be 57, what do these two have to add up to be?
90.
90, so you can just do 90 minus 57 and get 33. Now, did anyone, okay, those are two ways you could do it. Anyone use a different method and still figure out that that was 33?
That's crazy, bro.
Let me show you what someone earlier did. Someone in first hour realized that these two lines were parallel to each other. How do you know that they're parallel? They're perpendicular to the same line. It's like having the floor and the two door frames. The two door frames, no one tells us that they're parallel. We don't measure them as we're building them to make sure they're parallel. We just have to make sure that both of the door frames are perpendicular to the floor. Okay, once you make sure that they're perpendicular to the floor, now you know they're parallel. So she noticed that these were perpendicular to the floor, so this line is parallel to this line. And she noticed this was a transversal, and then she noticed that this angle and this angle are alternate interior angles, which means they're congruent. Therefore, if this one's 33, that one's also 33.
Wow.
So actually, she really didn't do really any math, but she noticed alternate interior angles. So, perfect. What questions do you have for me on your bell ringer?
On the bell ringer?
I mean, on your notes.
I was like, we still on that?
Sort of.
Bell ringer.
Okay. Turn your desk back around, fill out your table of contents, page 29. Stay in your seat.